Hello and welcome to today's episode of Taekwondo Life Magazine. It's a little bit of a somber episode today because we're going to talk about two martial artists, members of the martial arts community that have passed away, and we're going to pay a little tribute to them. My name is Mark Sirianis. I'm your host. I'm a third Dan black belt, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Taekwondo Life Magazine. Taekwondo Life Magazine is a member of the Bleav Sports Network. Do you believe? The first and the person we're going to cover in the majority of this episode is Grandmaster Suh Chong Kang, who, great Grandmaster, passed away at the age of 92. He passed away on January 30th. And we had the opportunity to speak to his son, Hosun Kang, Grandmaster Hosun Kang, one of his three surviving sons. And of course, we had an opportunity to speak to Master Maggie Messina, who was one of his students, who was the cover of August-September 2019 Taekwondo Life Magazine. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your online sportsbook experts. You can get over there and sign up. And when you sign up for BetOnline, you have a welcome bonus. The Super Bowl is coming up. Been a crazy football season. A lot of unexpected things have happened. We have the Bengals facing off against the Rams at home. 2 years back to back that the Super Bowl has been at the home team games where someone in the Super Bowl is actually related to the host city. Very unusual. All of these things you can bet on. We have the Olympics in full gear. I'm sure there's places to bet on that. And now I read that New York State and online betting is just killing it. It's just really, really doing well. So I want you to head over to betonline.ag and open up your account today if you haven't done that. That's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. So Grandmaster Kang, who happens to, his son Hosun happens to be friends with my Grandmaster. Of course, everybody knows Grandmaster Wyatt Park. I had a chance to speak to all of them in preparation for this episode. Grandmaster Kang, one of the senior men, one of the men, a handful of men responsible for the globalization of Taekwondo, and more importantly, from our perspective, bringing Taekwondo to the United States. Grandmaster Kang was inducted in 2009, I believe, into Gerald Robbins' Taekwondo Hall of Fame. He was well respected, and he crossed over numerous lines because of his involvement with Kuk Mu Kwan and with the ITF and with the American Taekwondo Federation, and the formation of his own Kwan. He really had a number of different opportunities to touch people and touch people's lives. He's responsible for being instructed to such famous people as Grandmaster Hee Il Cho, who so many of you know, many people have studied under. If I put it in perspective, if you don't know who Grandmaster Hee Il Cho is, if you're familiar with the film Best of the Best, he was honored by making him the coach for the Korean team, but he's so much more than that. He was also, Grandmaster Kang was also the Grandmaster for Michael Imperiale, who played Christopher on The Sopranos. Many people know he's a Taekwondo black belt. Well, he's a black belt of Grandmaster Kang's. Maggie Messina, we talked about, she came up in the 1980s in his Brooklyn location here in New York, not far from me. Grandmaster Kang was somebody who came from Korea. He's a Korean immigrant. He began the study of Kuk Mu Kwan under great Grandmaster Won-Guk Lee, a man who is really considered responsible for forming that Kwan, founding that Kwan. And Grandmaster Kang was really like a son to him to some degree. Grandmaster Kang stayed close to Won-Guk Lee until his death in 2003. In 1949, Grandmaster Kang founded his own Kwan, which really has been perpetuated in what his students study today, the foundations of. It's called Kuk Mu Kwan, which really is very, very similar in many ways to Chong Kwan. It's very different to our Olympic style, World Taekwondo Federation style Taekwondo, in that it's not really designed as much for sport, but more for practical self-defense and street combat. After the Korean War, then Grandmaster Kang taught self-defense to the military intelligence in Korea. And then in 1969, he decided to travel to the United States, where his story expanded. And, you know, when it comes to traveling, I travel a lot for Taekwondo. I travel and I use my computer and I use my Wi-Fi in a lot of open places that make me susceptible to being the victim of security threats. And as a result, I use Nord VPN, and it's something that I found out through Bet Online, and it's really, really great. It helps to minimize threats. It helps you to have fast connectivity to most servers, and you get the next gen of encrypted encryption so that everything you do stays secure, so that when I'm in hotels and I'm in Starbucks and I'm in things like that, I don't have a problem. With NordVPN, you can put it on all your computers and all your devices. It doesn't matter what your operating system is. You got unlimited bandwidth. And you have the ability, when you travel to places like, if I went to North Korea and they don't have internet there, or they don't have the websites there that I want to watch, like Netflix or something, I could use the NordVPN to change my location to the United States, and I'd be able to watch whatever programs I normally watch. And I can do all this for under $4 a month, which is just crazy. I want you to grab your exclusive Nord VPN deal for listening to this program. And you go over to nordvpn.com/Bleav, BLEAV. That's of course our host. That's BLEAV, and you get 70% off your NordVPN plan plus 1 additional month for free. It's also risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. I can't speak highly enough about this, especially in this age of internet insecurity. NordVPN is the way to go. So we were talking about traveling, and Grandmaster Kang came to the United States, and very much like many immigrants, he came here. He came here and took whatever job he could take, and he got a job as a janitor in a boxing gym. And one day, as the story goes, he was kicking the heavy bag, and the boxers thought that somebody was shooting a gun because of the sound of the heavy bag sounded like gunshots to them because he was so powerful. And when they found out that, wow, this sound came from this man kicking the heavy bag, they actually asked him to teach his techniques. And these boxing students became his first martial arts students in the United States. And he opened up his dojang in Brooklyn in the 1970s. It's just a pretty amazing story. But, you know, we're not so far removed from it that it's fable. I mean, he literally just died a couple of weeks ago. So I think it's a pretty great story. Moving forward, he served as the first president of the American Taekwondo Association, a big organization. He then became the vice president of the ITF. This is what I had said to you. He crossed many boundaries from 77 to 78. Later, he formed the American Taekwondo Federation, became its chairman, and then they became the All-American Taekwondo Foundation, which his sons now run. His 3 sons, we'll talk about them. In 2009, I said he was inducted into the Taekwondo Hall of Fame, and at age of 92 passed away last week. And I saw a number of things. His funeral is actually taking place today, the day in which, or has taken place today, the day in which I'm recording, in Fort Lee, New Jersey. A very strong Korean community there. He's got 3 Grandmaster sons: Grandmaster Suh Chong Kang from California, Grandmaster Hosun Kang from Edison, New Jersey. I had the chance to interview him about his dad, and Grandmaster Taesun Kang from Jersey City. He has 6 grandchildren, and he really did impact and affect the lives of so many people in the Taekwondo community. And it's important that we stay in touch with these things, very much like when my great Grandmaster Hyun Hee Park passed away, that we honor those traditions and that we honor these people, and that we remember the contributions and the sacrifice that they made in order to be able to teach the martial arts, because today you can go into any school around anywhere around the corner, and there's a million different types of martial arts that we can train in, whether it be a Taekwondo school or another form of martial art. But when these folks came, when Grandmaster White Park or Hyun-hee Park came, and Grandmaster Kang came, or Grandmaster Junri came, this was not the case. It was not known. It was not understood what it is that they did, what it is that they taught. It wasn't until much later, probably until the popularization of people like Bruce Lee, that people started to understand that studying the martial arts and learning the martial arts and teaching the martial arts was not just an Eastern or Far Eastern concept, but could be an international concept. So we pay homage and respect to the legacy of Grandmaster Kang today. We wish him that he rest in peace, and we offer our condolences to his entire family and Taekwondo and Kwan community. Also, I believe the same day, we got the news that Bob Wall had passed away. For those of you who don't know Bob Wall was a combat karate fighter, a friend of Chuck Norris and Joe Louis, a man who owned actually as partners with Chuck Norris, owned a number of karate schools, a chain of karate schools all over the country, but is really most known to most people for his movie roles. He was in The Way of the Dragon. He played with Chuck Norris. That's the famed movie that Chuck Norris fights Bruce Lee in the Coliseum. His teacher in that was Bob Wall. Enter the Dragon, he plays the dreaded O'Hara, the #1 man of Mr. Hand. And then he was in Game of Death, which, again, Bruce Lee was only in that for 7 minutes, but Bob Wall was in that. And Bob's been in a number of other things. There was a 2003 biography about him, but really a beloved guy, a guy who was really respected. Great tributes were paid to him this week. He passed away, and he, again, somebody who was really considered, he was 82 years old, beloved in the community, and iconic, mostly for his role in Enter the Dragon. So we pay great respect to the families of Grandmaster Kang, of Bob Wall, and there is an article and an obituary that appears on our website for Grandmaster Kang, and we'll link some videos. This episode has been brought to you by Bet Online, your online sportsbook expert, and Nord VPN. We'll put links in there for both of those. With Bet Online, you get that matching bonus. With Nord VPN, you get that great 70% off. So with that being said, my name is Mark Sorianis for Taekwondo Life Magazine, wishing you health and happiness, and I look forward to seeing you on the mat.